So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Sky News clowning Grant Shapps on TV, and then they go on to more serious stuff about the polling. So we'll discuss the clowning aspect first, because this is, honestly, this is something. And I didn't think Sam Coates had it in him to do something like this.
This is just calling Sam Coates. So it's on his Apple phone. Give him a little minute to get it up, but he is going to take it now.
Hello, Grant Shapps. You're live on Sky News. I'm in the studio with Sophie Ridge. Have you just seen that you're about to lose your seat, according to the Sky News YouGov projection? He just put the phone down on me.
The question is, why was Grant Shapps calling him in the first place? What was he calling to ask about? Especially when he's working. Especially if you have Sky News up, you could see him. He'd have been live working. What were you calling him about?
There we go.
We did try. I thought he was calling up for a direct comment, but we will, of course, get more comment from.
It's brutal, honestly. These two are... I didn't think these two had it in them to do that. But we're going to talk about... this is the part... With the bite. What's up? This is the main bit here.
With a result like this, you would expect to see several very high-profile Conservative MPs losing their seats, wouldn't you? We've got a few faces around us that have magically appeared on the wall, Sam. Talk us through what we're looking at.
These are some of the biggest names in our politics, aren't they? So if you look, Penny Mordaunt, the Leader of the Commons, Grant Shapps, Welwyn Hatfield, the Defence Secretary...
Yeah, Grant Shapps, the guy they just clowned on TV.
Alex Chalk, the Justice Secretary. Every single one of these, right now, is projected on course to lose at the general election. Look at them. You might...
So let's have a look. So, you know, I know there was a mistake, I think, from one of the channels saying that Jeremy Hunt's biggest problem is the Labour Party. It's not, it's the Lib Dems, especially because the boundary changes. So, you know, if you live in these areas and you want to get rid of your local Tory MP, this is a good graphic to look at here. So you've got Jeremy Hunt, Grant Shapps, Penny Mordaunt, Alex Chalk, Mark Harper, Simon Hart, Johnny Mercer, I can't stand this geezer, Esther No Way, Gillian Keegan, the one who failed the schools and wanted credit for nothing, Victoria Prentice, I can't remember much about her, and then David T.C. Davies. They named him Dave twice, effectively.
Might not be seeing these faces for very much longer, Sophie. Let's pick out some of them. Grant Shapps. He's the Defence Secretary. Some people think he's been doing something of a little bit of a leadership, kind of, you know, sort of playing footsie with Tory MPs to see whether he could be leader after the election.
And, you know, maybe Michael Green can run in his place. Who knows?
Well, he is set to lose, under this projection, to Labour, his Welwyn Hatfield seat, by 18 points. So
that's a huge swing. That's a huge swing.
Goodbye, Grant, is the message of this projection. Let's look at Penny Mordaunt, Leader of the Commons, Portsmouth North, one of the most famous faces in Rishi Sunak's cabinet. And what's happening to her seat?
That's who's doing the Zoom on this? What's this? What are you doing, Sky? Why are you doing this?
She might lose her Portsmouth North seat.
I think chances are she's going to lose her seat because she's not that popular in the constituency either.
5 points. Potentially Bye-bye Mel Stride, although he's in the balance, he is only projected to lose by 1 point. Look at this. This is the person in the cabinet in the most trouble. Not one of the most high-profile faces, but called Alex Chalk. He's the Justice Secretary. He's the MP for Cheltenham. Cheltenham has always sort of swung between the Tories and Lib Dems. He is projected to lose to the Lib Dems. Go down here. By 31 points. Wow.
He might as well get his resignation in now and say he's not going to run again. A 31-point potential swing is nuts.
Doesn't look good for him. Mark Harper, the Transport Secretary, he could lose to Labour. That's he's down.
The only prayer these two have of the ones that are in that might lose to the Lib Dems is the only hope they have is that people vote Labour and don't tactically vote. That's the only prayer they have.
And 4 points. Jeremy Hunt. Possibly the second most important person in the cabinet after Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, became Chancellor under Liz Truss, still there under Rishi Sunak, fighting this election. That was a bit of a surprise. Go down a bit, look at this result. He is due, under this projection, to lose to the Lib Dems by 15 points. That's quite a margin. That's going to be hard to come back from. You'll remember Jeremy Hunt at the weekend gave a newspaper interview where he said he was very worried about his seat. Let's look at some other faces, famous ones, all of them. Johnny Mercer, pugnacious Defence Minister.
Pugnacious? What?
He's also in the cabinet. He could lose his Plymouth seat by 11 points. Simon...
I respect, you know, if you're in that constituency as well and you want to see that brother gone, you know what to do.
And Hart, the chief whip, he's meant to be instilling discipline. Whether or not he can do so at the moment, given these results, it's a lot harder. He could lose his Wales seat to Labour by 9 points. Esther McVey, Minister without portfolio, also known as the Minister for Common Sense, her seat is a bit of a top.
She's another one. She wanted to get rid of certain lanyards for civil servants, the ones like LGBT, pro-Palestine, those kind of ones. She wanted to get rid of those because apparently they're not meant to be political civil servants, and it says that just because you're for something, apparently it means you're against everything else, which, again, Minister for Common Sense, but okay.
Toss up there, lose to Labour by 1 under this. The Welsh Secretary could lose his Wales seat because he is projected to be 11 points down to Labour. The Education Secretary could lose her Chichester seat to the Lib Dems by 5, and the Attorney General, Victoria Prentice, she's down 6 to Labour. These are the faces that we see daily on our TV screens, but maybe, Sophie, for not much longer, because they are, every single one of these 12 faces are in
12 out of 26, you're talking almost half the cabinet going.
Deep, deep trouble.
This honestly just wild to me, absolute insanity. And when we look at it, right, there is one thing to factor in with these polling results. So this was done before Nigel Farage has come back in, so it might eat away at the Conservatives more. But when you look at it, YouGov MRP poll finds Labour is on course for the biggest election victory in history. A poll of 550,000 plus voters finds Starmer is on track to win 422 seats, with the Tories reduced to just 140. It shows that Labour extended its lead since March, despite a policy blitz by Sunak. 194 majority. I think that'd be historically the biggest majority in the history of the game. I think 6 cabinet ministers are forecast to losing their seats. We've gone through them. Penny Mordaunt, we've got mentioned those names as well. Some of those are toss-ups, so we'll see how those go. And you got Labour on 422, the Conservatives on 140. Now, I've seen some people say, well, decimate the Tories and then the Lib Dems might become the official opposition. I mean, that's very unlikely when you look at this polling data, which is the biggest one they've done so far. But obviously, it doesn't factor in Nigel Farage's impact. But, I'm going to go on record and say, vote how you want to vote. Don't let people vote shame you. If you want to vote for Labour, if you want to vote for the Lib Dems, that's fine, whatever. If you want to vote for the Green Party, that's fine, whatever. Do vote with your conscience. That's the one thing I'll say every election. Don't let people call you a Tory enabler. If you want to vote for another party, those people are dumb. The ones that are saying that, those are the people who are not going to win over others. All they're going to do is cause more problems. I saw it in 2019 when when you had certain people in that camp say, well, just go vote for the Conservatives then if you don't like Labour, and that's the wrong take. You're not going to win people over by doing that. So vote how you want to, and again, don't be shamed into voting how people want you to vote. Look at the facts at hand. Look at who your local Tory MP is. If they're going to lose, most likely some of these are going to, then vote how you want to. Honestly, if you want to vote tactically, do that as well. It's up to you. But again, the idea that the Lib Dems might will become the official opposition, when you look at the this polling data, it says otherwise. But we're going to have to see how kind of reform are going to factor into it, because based on this, they're not going to win any seats, but all they're going to do is eat away at votes. And so they're going to, those kind of swing seats, the ones that, Labour might win, if the Tory vote doesn't come out as much as it needs to come out, and some of these people vote reform, then it's over for them, especially with the return of Farage. If you look at it, Plaid on 2, Greens on 2, which, again, that's double what they have now. I'd be interested to see which seat the Greens are taking. It's probably going to be the Bristol seat, because that's the one they're pushing for pretty hard. SNP on 17, so that's less than they have now. The Lib Dems on 48, which is a lot more than they have now. The Tories on 140, which again, in my opinion, I'd get them gone. But again, what you don't want is the right wing kind of reforming under the Reform Party and pushing under that banner. What you want is to be split. So, having some Tory MPs is not necessarily the worst thing, just as long as they're minimal, because you want the vote between Reform and the Conservative Party to be split, so it makes it much harder for them to keep winning. That's one thing people don't get, because if you combine the two polling results, they're around the 36 mark, I think. And so that's what you want, their vote to be split. And Labour on 422, which is a ridiculously high majority. So, yeah. So we'll see. I doubt that's going to happen, but this is what they're on course from based on current data, which again, polling is just a snapshot of how people feel at a certain point in time on a certain day. It can change, and as the election comes up, it will change a lot more. But this is just to tell you guys kind of what's going on. But at the moment, this is, I think, the biggest poll that they've done so far for this election, and so this kind of data is not something you can kind of scoff and joke at. This is big dog time. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and just remember, don't be vote shamed, vote how you want to, and I'll catch you in the next one.